Hey there, sweet friend. Welcome back to Mom2Mom Mentoring, where we dive deep into the things that matter most. I'm glad you're here today. Can I let you in on a story? It was a season of my life when everything looked full on the outside. Full calendar, full rooms, full inbox, women laughing around me, conversations buzzing, smiles everywhere, but inside, I felt a deep ache, something hollow, something missing. It wasn't that I didn't have people around me, I did. Family, church, ministry, neighbors, even friendships. But something was off, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it until one day I realized I was lonely. Not alone, but lonely. That was hard to admit, but it was real. That moment was the beginning of what I now call a friendship audit, like reviewing a budget or checking the pantry before cooking dinner. I took an honest look at the connections in my life. Who was I spending time with? Where was I investing my energy? Who really knew me and who didn't? And sister, let me tell you, I'm not in this alone. Maybe you've been there. Here's what the research tells us. People with the most friends over 9 years reduced their risk of death by over 60%. 29% of women aged 30 to 44 say they frequently or always feel lonely. 65% feel disconnected from others, and 57% don't feel safe showing their true selves. And the emotional toll, 81% of lonely adults wrestle with anxiety or depression. That's a big deal. And that's why this podcast matters. You see, years ago, I longed for a woman to walk alongside of me, someone to speak truth over me when I didn't want to hear it, point me to Jesus, and remind me I wasn't crazy or broken for needing deep connection. But I couldn't find her in the church. I couldn't find her in my immediate community. So I went looking. And over time, God brought different women into my life in different seasons, each with something sacred to offer. That's why I started Mom2Mom Mentoring. Each week, I bring you a conversation with women I wish I had back then. Mom mentors, heart encouragers, truth tellers, and grace bringers. We're diving into real life here, not just surface talk. We're going deep, and we're not afraid of the hard stuff because friendship, especially the kind that flourishes, often requires a little grit before grace. My hope is that today's episode meets you right where you are, in your car, at your kitchen sink, on your lunch break, wherever you're listening. I want you to feel seen, supported, and never alone. Oh, and in case we haven't met yet, I'm Misty. I'm a certified life and leadership coach, a strengths champion, a Symbis facilitator, a gregarious Grammy, and a woman who travels the world and the word. I've led nonprofits, raised 4 amazing human beings as a single mom for 22 years, and today I get to walk alongside women just like you, helping you connect with your God-given identity, align your life with what truly matters, and shine boldly as the woman He created you to be. I'm here to help you live powerfully, lead with purpose, and love with passion. And I do that through coaching, workshops, retreats, and this podcast. If today's episode encourages you, would you do me a favor? Leave a review, share it with a friend. That simple act helps this message reach more women who need hope. And if your heart is nudging you for more support, don't ignore it. You can book a free clarity call with me. Just check the link in the show notes. I'd love to hear your story and help you discern your next right step. All right, marvelous mom, grab your coffee or tea, get comfy, and let's dig in. Because loneliness doesn't always look like loneliness. But today, we're going to explore how to move toward the kind of friendships your soul is really craving. And I promise, you're not the only one asking these questions. Let's get started. This episode is part of my series on women's friendships. And if you've missed the first few, I encourage you to go back and listen. Each one builds on the next. And this week's episode sets the stage for our powerful finale, where we'll dig into how to cultivate authentic, transparent friendships, the ones we were created for. There's a quote from Ruth Ellen Josselson. She's a PhD. She says, every time we get overly busy, the first thing we do is let go of friendships. She goes on to say that's really a mistake because women are such a source of strength to each other. We nurture one another, and we need to have unpressured space in which we can do that special kind of talk that women do. Just thinking about that kind of soul space makes me whisper, Jesus, give me some of that sisterhood. But here's the thing, that kind of friendship, it doesn't just happen by accident. It takes time and it takes trust. And in a world that values hustle over heart, it takes guts to slow down and say, I need more than just surface. That soul ache you feel, it's not weakness, it's a signal. We live in a world full of what Arthur Brooks calls deal friends. These are the kind of friends who are helpful in the moment, but not necessarily nourishing for the heart. We all have them. We are them. You might have a text thread buzzing all day, but when your soul feels empty, those connections might not be the ones you go to fill you up. If you want to be deeply sustained, you need a different kind of friend, not more friends, but deeper ones. I call them heart friends, the kind who know your story, hold space for your tears, and see your beauty in the messy middle. And real friends, they take work. They don't just show up like a random Amazon package, and who doesn't love that? They're grown and nurtured over time. Marnie, we all experience various transitions through life. You and I have talked about a number of those transitions on a previous podcast. But one of the questions that I am most often asked by young mothers is how to maintain friendships during life transitions. When I have kids, I seem to lose my friends. When we move, um, all these different transitions that we go through as women seem to indicate to us, or we seem to feel like we lose all of our friends from the last season and don't really have the tools or understand how to maintain and hold on to those friendships that were so important to us during the last season or the season before. So I know you've recently gone through your own transition, marrying Phil and then becoming mom to 4 children and the plethora of grandchildren in your life. How have you personally kept friendships as a priority during your transition? And how do you maintain those friendships?
Well, I think prayer is very vital. And I believe in praying with friends. And I see it as part of similar to how I would take supplements or something that would help me to stay nourished in my body. I believe in prayer and companionship with friends and walking things out together is so important for the health of my inner me, my soul. And so, but you do need to recognize when you've got to morph that to fit a a new season. And so someone told me one time that you never end a really well managed meeting without deciding when you're going to meet again the next time. So I try to, I like to have rhythms. So I like to be able to say I can do better if I have it on the calendar. And so I try to have rhythms with several friends that I have a time that we will be able to pray together. And I found over time that if you're flexible with each other and you give each other grace, you can stay in connection better, because some week someone might be traveling, or some week someone might be have a really busy week. But if you keep this as a priority and just going to give each other grace to have life going on, that really helps. It helps a lot if you have an understanding of which people are you going to be with regularly, and which people will you maybe connect with at Christmas card time. What level of depth are you going to have with each person? And if you have a few people that you have a focused level of depth, we've had the joy and the privilege of praying together many times over the years, and have opened up and been there for each other in some deeper ways. And those are treasures. Those are really treasures. And so I do count them as treasures, but I also realize there's not going to be tons of people like that. There will be a few people like that. And to allow that to be grace. So much of friendships is grace.
It's not that we don't have friends, it's the deep heart friends that typically leaves us in a space of feeling alone. And
Yeah.
those do take a lot more time, intentionality, a lot of grace for each
Mhm.
other. I'm glad you brought that up because we're going to be diving deeper into that. Here's a hard truth. You are not going to cultivate these real friends if you're not intentional and if you're only doing what's convenient. And unfortunately, when all your friends are deal friends and none are real friends, the result is loneliness. But it doesn't have to stay that way. Today, we're going to do something sacred. We're going to do a friendship checkup. This is the perfect moment to grab your free friendship circles mapping guide from the show notes and follow along. You'll be glad you did. Think about it. When your body sends a warning signal, you go in for a checkup. If your finances are shaky, you meet with an advisor. So why not friendships? We were made for connection, and when that connection is broken or missing, it impacts everything. I want to invite you to pause with me today and take stock of your friendships. One of the most helpful tools I've used is something I call the Friendship Circles Mapping Guide. It's a visual way to reflect on where your people are, who's feeding your soul, and who might need to shift from one circle to the other. You can download the powerful resource in the show notes and follow along as we go. I like to keep it simple, so I've come up with 4 friendship circles, and they all start with C. First is the core circle. These are your carry your mat friends, the ones who show up when you get the diagnosis, sit beside you when the bottom falls out, and they know your story deeply. It takes over 200 hours of intentional time to build this circle. And yes, you can spend 200 hours with someone and still not get here if there's no mutual vulnerability and trust. Next week, we'll dive deeper into how to build this core circle. The next circle is community circle. These are your consistent companions, the Bible study girls, the mom's night crew, the people who show up when you text, "Can someone grab my kid? I'm stuck in traffic." They're woven into your weekly rhythms. The third area of friendship circles that I want to talk about is the celebration crew. These are the people who cheer you on. We need these people in our life. They're your birthday invite list. They may not know the hard details, but they love to cheer on your wins and they show up for those. I love being this person for others, but I also know I can't live in this circle alone. Typically, we have about 10 to 50 friends in this. The last circle that we're going to look at today is our crowd circle. We have anywhere from 50 to 500 people in this circle. This is your outer relationship world. Coworkers, church acquaintances, moms for soccer team, old high school friends on Facebook. Some may grow close, some may stay right where they are, and some may become a fond, cherished memory. Even Jesus modeled this structure in his life. He had 3 friends that were the closest companions. He discipled 12, and there were 72 who followed, but didn't share the same intimacy as the 12 did. Next time, we're going to explore how to build and deepen the kind of soul nourishing relationships. Because knowing where your friendships are and who's in what circle is only the beginning. The truth is, friendships shift. Sometimes they fade. Sometimes they move from core to community. That's normal. That's human. But if you don't pay attention, if you don't pause to notice and nurture what's happening, you can wake up one day deeply lonely, simply because you didn't cultivate or replenish the friendships that once held your heart. I know this personally. For years, I was pouring myself out, leading a nonprofit I loved, raising kids, mentoring women, traveling to speak and teach. I knew so many incredible women, and many felt like they really knew me, but I wasn't letting people into my core. I kept telling myself, my best friends, they live out of state, far away. That was true of my dear friend, Anne. Our families had shared life together, camping trips, road trips, holidays, birthdays. Our kids were close. She was a kind of friend who showed up on the floor with me folding laundry when my mother suddenly died. She was present for the messy grief, the hard questions. When I learned someone close to me was suffering from mental illness, Anne drove across state line, pitched a tent, and took me camping for 3 days to grieve. We danced and we cried in the rain. She was in it with me. Her family had moved back to Indiana, and while she never left my heart, the reality was she was no longer in close proximity. We still call now and then, and when we do, we pick up right where we left off. In fact, I just called her for the first time in probably over 6 months, and we jumped right back in. She will always be one of my dearest friends. I will always be able to trust her with the process and progress of my own journey. But is she a core friend now? Maybe, maybe not. We don't share daily life. We don't process weekly struggles. And while she will always hold a sacred space in my heart, our friendship, because of life and distance, has shifted. But I didn't recognize that shift right away. I didn't want to. Instead of making space for new core relationships, I filled my time with what Arthur Brooks calls deal friends, the ones who show up for the project or party, who help in a moment but never really see the soul. It's not that those deal friends aren't kind or helpful. In my situation, it was that I had stopped cultivating the deeper connections my soul craved. I hadn't grieved the shift. I hadn't even taken note of the shift. And I definitely had not made room for something or someone new. So I began investigating again. And maybe you need to too. Let's talk about how to take those first brave steps toward growing the kind of sisterhood that your heart longs for. Here's what I want to offer you today. Download the Friendship Circle mapping guide in the show notes. This visual tool will help you gently assess where your friendships currently live, what might be missing, and where you might need to invest or release. It's time for your own sacred friendship checkup. Grab your coffee and pen and let yourself take a gentle but honest look at where things stand. Where are your people? Who's missing? Who's shifting? And once you've mapped it out, sit with it. Let yourself feel it. Grieve if someone has moved a circle. Celebrate if someone stayed. But don't stop there. Here's your one thing. Okay, maybe two for this week. Number one, make your friendship map. Number two, take one brave step. Text someone. Ask them to coffee. Say yes to that woman that God is nudging into your life. The ache you feel, it isn't a problem to be fixed. It's a holy invitation to be known and loved. And I promise, Mama, you are not alone. I'm praying for you as you courageously explore what true, nourishing friendship looks like in this season. Don't miss the final episode in this friendship series, where we're going to talk about the brave steps to deepen friendships and develop the kind of authentic, transparent relationship your heart is created for. Until next time, remember, when you shine, you give others permission to shine too.